Of course, to use a cliche, this is the site of a lot of attention this Thursday morning in the wake of that devastating explosion, quite frankly, which has ripped through in the main Bree Street. We now know 48 people have been injured, 12 of them are still hospitalized, and one person has died. It's a marathon briefing, really, with the Premier of the province, Panyaza Lesufi, leading it in the main. He's there flanked by the Mayor of Johannesburg, Nqobile Madlala, and Elias Mawela, the Police Commissioner in Gauteng. So many unanswered questions still. On the one hand, the Premier says Egoli gas is the center of their focus as they try to ascertain what took place, but in the same breath, actually won't go far enough to say that it is, in fact, a gas explosion that has led to the rupture of the street, as we've seen. And, of course, that raises all kinds of questions because there are fears that there may very well be aftershocks, any kind of aftermath, and there's also concerns that it doesn't necessarily give us the green light to go back into that area, at least for businesses and other activity to resume. But of course, we're watching it at various vantage points. As soon as there's anything else more significant from that briefing, we'll let you in on that. But Zola Sholwana is our reporter, live to us from really the heart of the scene itself. And Zola, the Premier has been at pains to explain that they're doing everything to ensure that ordinary people steer clear of that area itself. What are they doing on that score?
Well, that's right, Ayanda. As you can see that there's little, or rather there aren't a lot of people here, and that's because police have been here from 3 a.m. Monitoring the situation. Now, those who live in the street obviously have to be escorted by the police to their residences, and which means that those that have businesses that are in the street, they are not operating at all until this is sorted out. When we spoke to EMS earlier on, they told us that they could only evacuate people from the scene, but not on the buildings that you see. There are people that were standing outside their balconies, just observing and looking at what is happening. So they're saying it is safe for people to be inside their buildings, so they cannot evacuate people and ask them to leave their premises. Now, it's quite hard for people to actually walk. I just want my colleague to show you right now. There's actually quite heavy police presence in the area. People that are stopping by to take videos of the scene are told that they'll be arrested, as this is now considered as a crime scene. So movement is actually quite strict. We are also not allowed to actually cross the police barricade right now, Ayanda.
Kind of site of what actually took place, Zola. Several roads also being affected there. How are we doing with managing traffic?
Well, in terms of traffic, Ayanda, it's actually it's quite stuck. Cars are not moving. You can imagine taxis. I mean, Joburg CBD is busy under normal circumstances, and today, being having this incident that's right behind us, movement is a bit of a challenge, with people that are going to work struggling to find alternative routes to get to their destinations. As you can see, that the police are turning back people, saying that they must find other routes to get to where they are going, because of course they cannot use that road as it is considered as a crime scene. Egoli gas is actually on the ground as well, just trying to sort out the problem. The police officer here is chasing away people, telling them that even standing here is prohibited. So if they continue to stand here watching the scene, then they will be arrested.
Yeah, I mean, in a context, of course, where Zola, we don't know what the cause of this particular explosion is. There's nothing being left to chance. I mean, we're told city power is also on the ground. It looks like electricity supply there has also been cut.
Yes, it is. Ayanda, at this moment, all the relevant parties that, could possibly come up with a solution to what occurred yesterday, are putting their heads together and trying to find a solution to what is happening here today. So there's no electricity at this point. So residents that live in the street are cut off power, and also businesses had to close down, because you can imagine how are they going to operate under such restrictions, with people not being allowed to get closer to the scene, and also, not having electricity.
Yeah, several cars also still being there. We're told that 34 cars in total have been affected, 7 of them in a bad state. And in fact, we're told those are the 7 that have been left there as authorities, of course, continue combing through the scene. They're hoping that they'll be able to get some kind of clues around exactly what happened. But Zola, it's worth taking a step back for those of our viewers who've just joined us. Early this morning, you were able to speak to some of the residents who saw what happened. What did they say?
So when I spoke to the residents closer to Bree rank, they said some of them were actually, just walking, and they just, felt some sort of movement. And obviously they just had to run to the nearest shelter because they didn't know what was happening. And then that's when the lady that I spoke to earlier saying they saw a car crash. I don't know if my colleague can be able to show you where the cars are right now, the state in which the cars are at. But unfortunately, she wasn't close enough to really describe, what really happened to those cars. But it was a scary situation, for people, as they didn't know. You might have seen on social media some people saying it was an earthquake, and that was because they didn't know, they didn't have information at that time of what was possibly happening, Ayanda. And honestly, most people reacted out of shock, and they just had to find the nearest shelter, which was the closest buildings that are closer to the incident.
Yeah, absolutely. To be fair, we're still not really sure what the cause of this explosion is, and I suppose that's at the heart of the widespread concerns for those watching at a close range like you, Zola, and many of us, of course, much further back. But we're watching the story from various points. Nqobile Madlala is also in the Joburg city centre. And Nqobile, you were asking the Premier questions around the cause of the explosion and what the way forward looks like. What did he say?
Well, at this point, they're saying that they're going to do more investigations in terms of that cause of the explosion. We're hearing that they're saying that they're bringing everybody in that has any of their infrastructure underneath the Johannesburg CBD. We've heard from the mayor, from the Premier, talking about the fact that even Telkom is one of the people that have been brought in. They've brought in also Sasol, who is also got their pipeline that is passing through the CBD. We are hearing that Egoli Gas also has different kinds of pipes that are going through the CBD, one with high pressure and some with less pressure. You will remember that yesterday Egoli Gas was arguing that the amount of pressure that has broken the road is not the amount of pressure that they would have on their pipeline. And today we are finding out that they have 2 different kinds of pipelines that are passing through Johannesburg CBD. And so they are going to look into that. They are also not ruling out issues around illegal mining, but they're saying they do not at this point want to say that is also a major issue. But those are some of the issues that they are looking into. And once they have found out then what is the reason behind this explosion, then only can they take it forward. They're saying that this impact obviously has taken a life, and that in itself means that it needs to be attended to almost immediately. And they are going to visit people that have been victims in this area. As you can see behind me, they are now finishing off that briefing. But we are hearing that there has been a rise in terms of the number of people that have been affected. So 48 people now being affected, but we are hearing that most of them have already been discharged from the hospitals. So the 15, I believe, that are still left are the ones that the Premier is saying that he is going to go see now. But we are hearing that the teams are still on the ground, just still perhaps combing that scene to sort of get more answers in terms of what really occurred.
Absolutely. Nqobile Madlala, thanks very much indeed. Part of our team watching the story from the Joburg City Centre on this Thursday. Zola Sholwana also just a stone throw away from where that briefing took place, much closer to the epicenter of that explosion. Those important numbers for you once again. 1 fatality, 48 people injured, 12 still being treated in hospital. We're watching all the different angles of the story, so stay glued to 405 as the updates continue rolling in. But